Military veterans have returned to the streets of Abuja protesting the failure of the government to pay their entitlements. The veterans picketed the Ministry of Defense, while Arise correspondent Ferdinand Roja reports.
The protesters, some of them widows of fallen heroes, gathered as early as 7 a.m. They have accompanied these retired servicemen and women under the aegis of the retired members of Nigerian Armed Forces and Coalition of Concerned Veterans 7 months after their last protest. In January, they picketed the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Defense, and the National Assembly in pursuit of their demands. This time, they have defied the rains and have come with sleeping mats, ready to spend the night in front of the Ministry of Defense if they are not given a positive response. Among their grievances is the non-payment of the Security Debarment allowance by the federal government. The Security Debarment allowance is an allowance paid to retired members of the armed forces to debar them from using acquired special military skills against the state. It is calculated as 10% of annual salary at the time of retirement, multiplied by number of years served. The protesters are also critical of the Minister of Defense, who they say has abandoned them.
You are owing us 24 months, then you paid it in pieces. That was not useful. Now, this is the last chunk that was remaining. You are still delaying on that. And you are supposed to pay the SDA. The SDA is the Security Debarment Allowance. We have gone on TV, we have written, you ignore the letters. See, every country that have hope for its people must never put people without empathy, without human feeling in an office.
The accompanying widows are appealing to the federal government to pay their entitlements.
We, the widows, are suffering with our children. Nobody to help us except God. No food, no school fees, no money to pay for accommodation. We are suffering. The government should pay us our entitlement that our husbands worked for.
As you see us for here, we are widows. We don't have any help. Our husbands, they have died. The money they're supposed to give them, they not give them. You see us, our children, no work, no school, no food.
While the protest went on, a letter arrives signed by the Director Joint Services for the Minister. The content is read to the hearing of all.
I am directed to inform you that all your grievances have been noted. 2. The Ministry wishes to state in its commitment to seeking a lasting solution to all the problems you have highlighted, and steps are being taken to ensure the timely implementation of the approved Security Debarment Allowance (SDA) by Mr. President to all concerned veterans. 3. In line with our commitments, the Ministry will revert to you within the next 2 weeks on the progress made on the matter. 4. Please accept the assurances and warm regard of the Honorable Minister. Do we accept?
No. The veterans insist that their demands are adequately addressed by the authorities. As the rains become intense, a canopy was brought in to create a shelter and a generator provided to ensure the loudspeakers are not silent due to the lack of power. Ferdinand Roja, reporting for Arise News.
Well, our national anthem says, "The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain." Well, joining us now is the National Secretary for the retired members of Nigerian Armed Forces, Roy Okhidievbe. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. Well, apparently in that report we saw you there reading the letter that came from was it Ministry of Defense?
Yeah, Minister of Defense.
Apparently it didn't go down too well with you, and we're hearing that government has actually made a proposal to pay within 5 years your demands, but would like to know exactly what those demands are in specific terms.
You see, to gain trust
you have to work with sincerity with people. Now, the veteran community had 24 months arrears for minimum wage. There was no noise. We even didn't come out for protests when the EndSARS was going on. We sheathed sword. We didn't come out for protests for the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. We did it 3 days before the day because of international guests that will come. That same money has been shredded into pieces. Till now, it has not been paid in full. Then we said, okay, pay the debarment allowance. The president have approved it. The Honorable Minister of Defense, after a series of letters, visitations, entreaties from senior generals that are senior, he now called for a meeting. In the meeting, he agreed with us that the 3 to 5 years is too long. Even at that meeting, we are getting information, this has died, that has died, this has died. Okay, pay the money that was approved because it captured all the names of the people, and make sure the ones that have died, their money is paid to their families. Then pay the money behind the 3 years, not the 3 to 5 years that you are predicting for us. You know, and the soldiers that are retiring now, they get their payments in full. And the backlog that you are owing, the elderly ones, you are not even paying them at all.
So this is a question of distrust.
Distrust.
Yes, so you do not believe that, you know, the government will pay as they have said, because clearly the last tranche is what you're waiting for the payments that have started since February till now. So we understand that pension has been taken care of. The SDA is the major issue, and the fear, just to understand you clearly, is that 3 to 5 years is too long. You feel the government can actually settle those, you know, those bills now.
It's not expensive. If you look at the financial transactions going on in Nigeria, let's take, for example, the monies that were discovered that were set aside by some personnel in the office. Let's look at the monies that were given to other countries as palliative by this our government. Then let's look at the hems of affairs. The president is a veteran. The NSA is a veteran. The Honorable Minister of Defense is a veteran. So where is the discussion that this cannot happen? The minimum wage we fought for, they got alerts. The president must have gotten alerts. The NSA, the Honorable Minister of Defense. So the people talking now, it's not even me. It is the gamut of the whole community of veterans, from the One-Star General Association down to the other ranks cadre. So if they don't show any body language in communication, they don't respond to letters. Look at the Joint Services Director. She came out, she was trying to put words in our mouth that we didn't say, and we repeated what we said because those meetings were recorded. And she's the Joint Services head for the Army, Navy, and Air Force, one person. And she's the wife of the Secretary General of the Federation, the SGF. So I don't see where anybody can pressure. Yes, the secretary goes, thank you. I don't see where anybody can pressure that table because she's so relaxed and just talking to us. So we need somebody on such seats that has empathy, that understands the travails of these people, and we put the necessary directional discussions to make sure results are actualized.
So, I mean, government cleared 24 months backlog, right? And then there's this security debarment allowance for military, which is a major bone of contention. Of all the demands that you're making, which one is the most important? Because to me, I'm thinking this SDA, I mean, what are the consequences really of not paying this SDA, the security debarment allowance?
Thank you. You know, our country does not respect judicial processes. I have instances I can prove to you. Now, SDA debars you from using your skill against the country. I am a trained paratrooper. Right. I was trained in bomb disposal in Army Bomb School in Makurdi as a sapper. I was trained in Special Forces crocodile water to land attack. I was trained in so many things. That is minimal. There are officers that are trained in extreme situations. And if they use those skills against the state, how can you hold it against them? What law do you want to quote when you didn't debar him as the policy demands? You see, so you just have the opportunity to have a disciplined community who are discussing with you against the option of utilizing their skill against the state.
Are you saying government does not appreciate the importance of this? I mean, with the kind of high risk they've just, just mentioned, described to us, is that what's playing out?
The whole activity of government has clearly shown that the government is not people-centered. If you are people-centered, you will know that this can also be coined as sponsoring terrorism. Because when you want to sponsor terrorism, you limit opportunities of deterrent measures. And one of the major deterrent measures for terrorism is a highly motivated, skilled, and professional military force. And if I am in the military, I look out, I see veterans. Some are their fathers. Even General Obasanjo retired. His son is a general today, heading a command. So many other officers, their children are in service, both other ranks. So how will they do when their dad is calling them to send them money for Panadol? So you are demotivating them. So a lot of them go into business transactions. That's why you see senior officers are arrested, that they falsified accounts, they did this and that, but there is no judiciary to quickly cut to place all that shouldn't be.
Well, just before we let you go, I mean, this is really very, very sad situation. We have ASU on one side making their demands. They have been on strike 7 months now. We have veterans also making their demands as well. The government
electricity workers too
are also on one side. The government is saying, give us time. We're going to address this in about 2 weeks' time. You also planning to remain outside to keep protesting this particular issue. How long are you going to be there for?
Well, for your information, many of us have been dropped. As a paratrooper, I drop with my parachute, I bury my parachute, and with my rifle, my compass, and my other equipment. And I move into desert places, into swampy places, and I survived it. We have been in the rain. The rain dropped on us and dried up on these clothes. We are going to be there. We have our generator and everything. We are going to be there until we see reasonable action. What are the reasonable action? Give us a letter. Just say middle of October or ending of October, you get your money. And I told her, if it gets to 3 days to that day, send us another letter and say it has not clicked. We will be able to do it in the next 2 weeks. Please be patient.
What was the response?
She said okay. She went in, brought us a letter that said she doesn't know when the money is going to be paid.
Oh my.
That's another line of disappointment for those people. Some of them were crying.
So you're
it's
going
so
to
sad.
Be there for as long as
we are there for as long as we can stand on our feet.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight tonight.
Thank you.
See, you're pretty emotional about this issue. And that is understandable. We've been speaking to the National Secretary for the Retired Members of Nigerian Armed Forces, Roy Okhidievbe.